Catholic schools in Russia. Stay tuned as we talk with a local superintendent of schools who was invited to Russia to help set up the curriculum. Then visit an intergenerational daycare program where the young and old are paired up to take care of each other. All this and more on Catholic Magazine. With your window on your world, this is Catholic Magazine. Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Perillo.
And I'm Pat Shelton. Thanks for being with us again this week. Later on tonight's program, we'll meet Sister Marie Lourdes Vanston, Superintendent of Schools for the Diocese of Wilmington, who'll tell us about her exciting and somewhat dangerous trip to Russia to help set up a school curriculum.
It's easy to talk theory in the classroom, but real-life experiences are best learned in the real world. Tonight, we'll meet a priest who takes his social justice class to a handicapped school for some first-hand experience.
Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Buffalo has discovered what could be the new wave in daycare. Sit back and be prepared to smile as we watch an intergenerational daycare program in our next story entitled Opposites Attract.
Well, I think they take a lot of my time up, and I like them. They're very educated, and it does them good. And it helps their parents. It helps their parents a whole lot.
It makes it so special because we do such a variety of things, and you make new friends, and you do things that you didn't do before, like ceramics.
Pleasant feeling to be speaking of your younger days.
Located at 30 Rich Street on Buffalo's East Side is a Catholic Charities run program which is operating at full capacity and is proving to be the new wave in daycare facilities. Occupying the first floor of the building is Holy Innocents Daycare Center, which admits children from the ages of 8 weeks to 5 years. Residing on the second floor is a senior daycare with age requirements of 60-plus years. So what do you get when you take a bunch of rambunctious, inquisitive 4-year-olds and mix them with a handful of knowing, gentle senior citizens? Instantaneous fun in an intergenerational daycare center.
Intergenerational programs have really been around. The concept has been around, and it's been tried in other areas for, I'd say as long as 10 years. But just, let's see, 3 years ago now, the State Office on Aging and the State Department of Social Services made some special grants available to blend senior programs and child programs.
Kathy Ferris, director of the senior daycare facility, worked out of Sisters Hospital until the program literally outgrew the space available. This too happened to Dorothy Schneider, director of Holy Innocents Daycare Center. As circumstances unfolded, these two women found themselves together, and the intergenerational daycare program was conceived. The seniors are invited to attend the center a maximum of 2 days a week. Financially, the system operates on a sliding contribution scale, which allows those seniors of lower income the opportunity to participate in the program. The children attend daycare 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and their fees are determined according to income and size of family.
As governmental and community resources become more scarce, we've got to think of some ways to be more cost effective. Both of our programs are very necessary for this community, but whether they could continue to be funded just completely with all these expenses incurred by just one program is really a question because of the shrinking dollars. But by us getting together and sharing, it makes those dollars go a lot further.
Sharing building space, utilities, and rent helps the success rate of this program. But what you can't put a price tag on is what these two age groups provide for each other.
Well, I try to bring that they should look up to elderly people, because you don't know their backgrounds. See, sometimes children are afraid of older people. Depends upon what the association they had in the past.
Too, that it's very beneficial for the children to have a more realistic look or approach to aging. Some children are frightened. Some children are frightened when they see someone in a wheelchair. Now they're learning that there's nothing to be afraid of and that these folks will read to them or interact with them. and they get a great pleasure from that.
So in this group, we are going to roll out this dough. Okay, now who is going to do that? Maybe you can do it with Florence. You help her to do that. We use a little flour. Could you help her to roll it out? And then we will cut it, okay? So, let me see.
It's all measured. It's all measured. They just got to mix it.
You want to help?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You want to stand up? Oh, how should we do that?
More flour.
A little more flour? Okay, and you all have some cookie cutters, right? What does cookie cutter look like?
I know it.
How does it look like? What is this?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. What do you have? Pumpkin. You want to show it's a pumpkin. What do you have?
We got witches.
Witches. Oh, that's really something.
They're good witches, though. But
Good witches, not bad witches, right?
In this new wave of daycare, the seniors and children usually interact at least twice a week.
today we were baking cookies. Pumpkins and witches. I told the children we were making good witches, not bad ones.
It's a real interesting mix because it seems like when we mix the kids and the seniors, what the seniors can't do anymore, the kids can, as far as working on craft projects. So they've sort of developed a buddy system with each other so that between the two of them, they can usually complete the task.
Well, I think it's beneficial to both ages, as we stated before. This helps Kathy's seniors to join in, and maybe they don't see their grandchildren, and they're cut off from just the younger folks. And in my case, the same way, their grandparents may live down south, so they just can interact and see that all of us really can live together and love and help one another.
Well, it teaches each of us how to get along with each other, to be patient with each other. And it's difficult not to get too close to them, because each time the children come up, you look for the ones that you were with before, which isn't right. You should take each one as they come.
I like children, and I like the things they're doing for the families. It really helps them. They get more now than we had when we were their age.
It's a grand feeling to be with the young ones again.
I guess opposites really do attract. The older people as well as the young ones seem to benefit from the time they're spending together in the daycare program. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the problem before us today threatens to completely erode our standing in the world market. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Johnson for bringing the problem to the board's attention. Let's hear the reports.
Every 53 minutes, an American child dies because of poverty.
Each day in this country, 100,000 children are homeless.
The children in schools today are the first generation of Americans to be more poorly educated than their parents.
25% of the infants born this year will be on welfare.
Children make up 27% of the general population, but they account for 40% of the people living in poverty.
As the numbers indicate, the situation has reached a crisis level. Johnson, you seem to have a clear picture of the problem. What's your assessment?
I'm more than a number, I'm a person. If you don't take care of me today, how do you expect me to take care of this country tomorrow?
Make an investment in the future. Take care of the children today.
My life could have taken a different path. By the time I was 8, I'd won 13 dancing medals. But looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Oh, I can't show you a big pile of money I've saved, but I can show you a school and a hospital and people. So many people. Saving money for ourselves just didn't seem right.
Give to those who showed us how.
Welcome back to Catholic Magazine. Can you imagine what it must be like to be literally in the middle of a revolution? To hear the rapid gunfire whiz past your ears, to see tanks maneuver into place, ready to do battle. Or experience, for that matter, an educational revolution in a country where communism was once the way of life. My guest has experienced both. At the same time, Sister Marie Lourdes Vanston, the superintendent of schools of the Diocese of Wilmington, Delaware, was among 34 Catholic educators recently invited to Russia to experience how government leaders are now working to redefine the way Russian children are educated. Sister, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Paul.
How were you and other educators invited to go to Russia and experience, I guess, this, not only you happened to be there, I guess, at the wrong time or the wrong place when the revolution started, but you were invited to really experience the educational revolution?
That's right, Paul. Sister Catherine McNamee, who is the president of the National Catholic Educational Association, was invited to the country of Russia by the Institute of New Technology in Moscow. NCEA has a technological communication system, and with their contacts in Moscow, the people at the Institute became aware of what Catholic educators are doing in this country. And because of the effort to reintroduce the idea of God into the whole educational reform, they invited Sister Catherine to participate in this visit to the country.
35 American educators then arrive in Russia. How were you received by not only the educators, your counterparts in Russia, but the people in Russia?
The welcome was unbelievable. I think we were very surprised. The welcome was warm, very sincere, honest. There was a wonderful exchange between the educators and ourselves. I think the part that really impressed us was that we felt we were bringing so much to the people. What we found, however, was that we received so much from them. They were so happy to have us. They were so happy to discuss educational topics with us. So I would say that overall, the reception was cordial and the welcome was very warm.
So often, Sister, in the media we see and hear about the political revolution and the economic revolution, but indeed there is an educational revolution that we don't hear about in the mainstream media.
That's very true, Paul. I think that as we discussed what the educational reform is about with the Minister of Education in Moscow, we were informed also what the effort is attempting to do. Basically, we're looking at an educational system that was fairly robotic. For example, if the topic of chemistry or oxygen was going to be presented, in previous days, that topic would have been taught on September the 26th at 10 o'clock in the morning by all teachers in all Russian schools to all children, with little opportunity for input from the teachers and little opportunity for discussion with teacher and student. That whole thing now is being turned around, and what the Ministry of Education is attempting to do is to give teachers the opportunity to have input into the development of the curriculum and how and when and where those topics will be presented, and also to give students the opportunity to have dialogue with the teachers. What the Minister of Education told us was that in early days, education was something that was done from the university level, and the practical application for the teacher was hardly ever addressed. So ideas were developed by university professors, but then the local teacher had little opportunity to make any kinds of changes or adaptations for the students that the teacher might be meeting.
Sister, and part of this education revolution that's taking place in Russia, I guess we see now the introduction, or if you will, the reintroduction of God back into the families, back into the school children, where for so many years they couldn't even utter the word in public for fear of what type of retribution could be headed their way.
That's also true, Paul. I think what we were amazed at was that all of the educators that we met with in local elementary schools, secondary schools, and even at the university level, all the way up to the ministers of education in both Russia and in Lithuania, indicating to us that the absence of God in the lives of the children and in the lives of the people had created such a vacuum that this was something that needed to be addressed if Russia was ever to become a force in the world market. That without a value system, which has just been absolutely obliterated for over 72 years, without this being brought back into the lives of children and into the lives of the people, that the hopelessness that has existed among the people, that would continue. And so we heard from all level of education the need to bring back the whole spiritual development of children and adults. And we met at the university level teachers who are looking to introduce courses that will prepare people to teach religion, both to children and to adults. That this is such a tremendous void in their lives, and they recognize the fact that this has to be addressed.
Sister, how do the religious and educational reforms, in the minute that we have left, how do they stack up with the other reforms that are going on in the country?
I think what the Minister of Education in Moscow had said to us was that until such time as a value system can be reintroduced, the economic climate cannot be changed, because without a value system, it's very difficult for people to respect cultural exchange, economic exchange, and to really respect the individual person.
Thank you, Sister. Sister Marie Lourdes Vanston, the Superintendent of Schools in the Wilmington Diocese, our guest on this edition of Catholic Magazine. Up next, a high school social justice class learns about the real world as they spend time at a handicapped youth center on our next segment, Rich in Love.
After I've been going there, you feel like you're the handicapped person and they're not, because you're the one that doesn't have the happiness that they do. Because I feel like I'm less than they are.
In Lakeland, Florida, Santa Fe High School students are learning some lessons they couldn't get in the classroom.
Well, when we were there last time, we were
These students are part of a peer tutoring program. They volunteer at Doris Sanders Learning Center in Lakeland. The center is a school for children with severe mental and physical disabilities. They serve as teachers' aides, sometimes directly by helping within the class, or indirectly as a positive role model, but often by being a friend. Santa Fe student Deanna DeSilvestro's favorite part of the program is working personally with the center students. At first, she had some apprehensions, but they didn't last long.
Walk. Right. Now, what does this one mean? You know, I just saw them and I realized, oh, they're not that different from us. Before I came to Doris Sanders, I judged people. But now I see, they really are nice people, and you shouldn't judge people for how they look, because they are special people. Just because they look different doesn't mean they don't have the same feelings you do.
Richard Cayley, like other students at Doris Sanders Learning Center, feels excited every Wednesday when the Santa Fe students arrive.
I like it when they all get when they sign in, and they all sit down, and they talk to us, they give us more information about themselves. They do. Yeah.
Tell me some of the ways that the Santa Fe kids make you feel.
They make you feel happy and glad.
Father Arnold Zembrowski, pastor of Santa Fe High School, started the program as part of his social justice theology course for seniors.
So we began with what is social justice? And that sounds nice, And then we talked about racism, sexism, discrimination against the handicapped, the poor. But it's nice because, it's nice to talk about it. That's what the classroom is. I mean, here's an example of where they can put it into practice. For Doris Sanders, okay, like I said before, I think, to my knowledge, it's the only high school, I think we're the only high school in the entire state of Florida that's helping the public school system. You know, and it's a good example of putting our Christianity to practice.
When I go because I feel, it's not because somebody's making me go, I feel because I want to help. I want to, if I can just make one person make their day, make it better for them, then, I mean, that's more for me. And sometimes when we go, we feel like they're so happy to see us, we make their day, but when I went, it made my day.
Well, when you go, especially if you're having a bad day before you go and you think you have problems, and you go there and you look at some of the children who are there and how they deal with things, and it, you know, kind of makes you put your things in perspective a lot better. You know.
So appreciate what you got.
Yeah, appreciate what you have, and then makes your problem seem kind of trivial when you look at what they have to deal with every day.
All right. Anything else?
Father Arnold's goal is to help the students become aware of community needs and then to respond through service.
They were concerned, but there was nothing for them to do.
No vehicle to do it.
Yeah, they didn't know about Doris Sanders School. They didn't know about the Polk County, the poor pre-K kids. You know, because when I told them stories about either Doris Sanders or the pre-K kids, I mean, their mouths dropped.
Well, I think, you know, one of the precepts of the Christian faith is service, and that we're not, you know, it's not really a passive role anymore. That we're really showing, you know, our Christianity, and that Christianity is doing and not just, you know, just talking about it. And I think this is an excellent way to show it.
Art Murray teaches at Doris Sanders Learning Center. He initiated the peer tutoring program.
The purpose would be for the students of Santa Fe to establish communication skills, social interaction skills with their peers, no matter what kind of mental or physical disability they have. At the same time, go ahead and establish rapport with them. On the other side, with our students here, it gives them the opportunity to respond in a positive way, and it builds their confidence and builds our students' self-esteem also.
Persephone Brown is a student at Doris Sanders.
How is Wednesday different when the tutors come?
They make us happy and stuff. If we don't be mad or stuff.
So you don't get mad?
We be happy. Like the other days, we feel lonesome and stuff because we don't have nobody to talk to in our classes and stuff. So we feel happy when they come.
Does it sometimes make it easier for you to learn when the tutors come to visit?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Like when I have trouble reading and stuff, I ask one of them to help me and stuff, and they'll help me.
Santa Fe student Paula Griffith finds that there are more similarities than differences between the students.
Today, especially, I like it. I have fun with them, you know, because, I mean, they're just normal. They laugh, they make jokes just like everybody else. I mean, I was in one of the classes and they were singing. Like 2 girls were in there singing. I mean, it was just like being at school.
When the Santa Fe students arrive at the center, they are briefed by Mr. Murray about their responsibilities.
Just interact with the students and talk and follow the curriculum as close to it as you can. Now I have 2 people going on a field trip.
He assigns them to a teacher, and they work with that class the rest of the day.
It's good to see them interact and learn from each other. It's good to see Santa Fe students see people with disabilities excel and do things. This exposure is good. And it's also good for our students to be with Santa Fe because they hear the latest, what's going on out there. They hear about the football games, how the school's doing, and how the swimming team's doing, or the basketball or baseball games. So they get this kind of exposure from Santa Fe because I feel a lot of our children here don't get a chance to go to basketball games and football games.
Go Santa Fe! Go Santa Fe! Go Santa Fe!
The center students cheer on the Santa Fe teams and are the most loyal and spirited fans.
Really, when they're here and they're working, when Santa Fe students are working with our students, it's really hard to see the disability, whether the mental or physical disability in our students, because it seems like it's overcome by the attention and the love that Santa Fe students have for our kids.
But in the long run, Santa Fe students believe that they are the ones who benefit, and that the experiences at Doris Sanders change them and enrich their lives.
It was a Wednesday. They come back from Doris Sanders, and I'm in the parking lot, and everybody already left, and I'm out there, and one of the kids comes up, one of the senior comes up, and he says to me, he says, "Father," he says, "you don't look so good." He says, "What's wrong?" He says, "Didn't you get permission for that pre-K picnic?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "I got permission for it." He says, "Well, you don't look happy." I says, "Well," I says, "You know," I says, "wouldn't it be great if we were rich, if we were a rich school, and, you know, had a lot of millionaires?" I says, "So you wouldn't have to, because now we got this picnic, we got to go beg for hot dog rolls, got to beg for the hot dogs, got to beg for the orange juice, all right? We got to do all this begging." I says, "Wouldn't it be great if we were rich and had beautiful science labs?" And the kid looks at me real sincerely. And you got to remember, when the kids come back from Doris Sanders, one kid told me, "You're on an emotional high that's higher than any drug could give you." So the kid looks at me after I go through all this stuff about wouldn't it be great if we were rich. And he says, "Father," he says, "we are rich." He says, "Maybe someday we'll have money."
We're back. And Paul, you know, you get to talk to some very interesting people. And part of what Sister was telling us that fascinated me was how the religion in Russia was never completely stamped out, no matter how hard the state tried.
She told us before we taped the interview that they would gather in the kitchens at night and turn all the lights out and light a small candle, and that's how they would hold their religious services. And now that people still feel that suppression, because when they're allowed now to go into the churches, they're always looking over their shoulders, still fearing that the KGB is going to do something to them, because now they're allowed to practice their faith.
Yes.
Interesting stuff. That wraps up this edition of Catholic Magazine. Until next week, I'm Paul Perello.
And I'm Pat Shelton. We'll look for you next time. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Set materials for Catholic Magazine provided by Tay Glover Incorporated, serving the Delaware Valley for over 75 years, and by John Wanamaker, fine stores in the Delaware Valley. We welcome your comments, suggestions, and donations, and encourage you to write us at Catholic Magazine, St. Charles Seminary, 1000 East Wynwood Road, Overbrook, Pennsylvania, 19096, or call us during regular business hours at 668-9842.